Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. Today I want to talk about the Lorcana is dying or declining narrative, and just some different posts that I've seen online, some videos I've seen, and I just kind of want to talk about it and express my thoughts. While obviously the game is not dying by any stretch, but sometimes people need a good reality check. So we're gonna do that today. We're gonna start with a fun one first, though. This post came across my feed. MTG Spider-Man losing to Lorcana at my local Costco. So it's got the palette side by side of the first chapter Lorcana bundle. Great product. If you haven't gotten it, I highly recommend. And then you have the Magic bundle over here to the right with Spider-Man. And this is from a group called Poorly Playing Magic. I'm not a member of the group. It's got 45,000 members. And the comments are just riddled with people poo-pooing Magic in the Spider-Man set, saying that it's going to go out of business. Good Wizards needs a good reality check. Fortnite of TCGs. Now we get Super Smash Bros with MTG, Scalper Infestation. A lot of people basically complaining about the state of Magic, right? So they're very upset with the current just landscape of Magic. They hope it fails, it's dying, etc. There are some funny comments in here. This is like watching two homeless people fight for a piece of bread. Someone said like that they would take Bluey. Of the two, they choose Bluey in the background here for $70, whatever that little Bluey product is there, which I thought was hilarious. But this is just to show that kind of the grass isn't always greener. People in Magic are complaining about Magic. People in Lorcana are complaining about Lorcana. But I want to obviously stick up for Lorcana a little bit here. So I'll kind of tie together all of the negative sentiments that I've seen, and then I'll talk about some good stuff and why I don't necessarily feel the same way that these people do. So Lorcana Inc. posted on the Lorcana Reddit a couple days ago that is the head of organized play to blame for the decline of Lorcana. And they go on to say, like, here's things they should be doing: continental and DLCs, regional events, US West. They've got some really good ideas, right? And this person is they're trying to help, right? So they're not saying that the game's going to die. They're just trying to help, right? With their experience from other TCGs and the fact that right now it's kind of DLC or bust. And they want to have some other events that are supported by Ravensburger. And just for the record, I've gotten the sense that that's what we're going to see more of in DLC Season 3. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that that's the case. But this person is just upset with the current model. A lot of people are complaining about rotations, right? Reasonable complaint, in my opinion. A lot of people have said that those were way too early. As someone who doesn't play the game as much as I used to, I will say it definitely... I've played less Lorcana because rotations happened. I think that's an undeniable fact. I pretty much did not I played one best of 3, I think, the entire set of Fabled. And that's solely because of rotations, right? So I can say just anecdotally for me that was not the case. Now, I know that it also brought people in, and it made a lot of the decks a lot more affordable. So hopefully there was a lot more of those people coming in than people like me leaving from a player perspective. But rotations, without a doubt, impacted my desire to play the game. Okay. That's just for me personally. But a lot of people there are some, but I want to kind of switch to, let me take a step back. So obviously this person's saying, essentially, like, hey, what's the reason for the decline? A lot of people are commenting. I've also been sent a clip from a gentleman named Twice Baked Jake on a podcast, saying that Lorcana's dead. I've seen another person who I'm not familiar with Twice Baked Jake at all. I know the name, but I don't watch any of his content. But apparently him and his co-host said that Lorcana was dead because when they go to buy Pokemon, Lorcana is on the shelves. And it's so funny to me hearing that, because it's like, guys, having product in stock does not mean the game is dying, right? Like, do we not remember last year when like Pokemon ETBs were like overstocked, right? They were just like stacked up to the ceiling, like no one wanted them. And like now that you can make money, sure, the demand's there, but for a long time, like Pokemon had stock on the shelves. Like this idea that just because it's on the shelf means it's worthless, or that no one wants it, or that it's dying, like it's a wild, I don't know. It's just such the duality of like how quickly people can forget, and just like, I guess just extrapolating, what some things mean. It's just wild to me. But nevertheless, so Lorcana has a product on the shelf, so it's dying. When I go to buy Pokemon, I can get it. Another person that I really respect, he's kind of a personal hero of mine within the hobby, Jim at Pokemon. He was on a podcast, and I heard him say some disparaging things about Lorcana in terms of just like, I think just said it's like dying or something. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, box prices for the last couple sets are very, very good. First chapter, still I think around like 300 plus. So like the older set doing good. Now, sure, set two will leave out of it because it's above MSRP, but like set three through set, or I guess mainly just set 3 and 4, pretty low, but still like not that bad in terms of like sealed box prices, in my opinion. But you look at these new sets and like look at cards like Cinderella or like Dumbo, or even, you know, cards from like older sets, but that are still being utilized in the game, like Clarabelle or whatever. And like you're seeing thousands and thousands of copies of these cards being bought and sold. And like, to me, that just speaks to like how many people actually want these cards, in combination with the fact you look at like, you've got $1,000 chase card from Fabled. You've got Minnie, who's not that, you know, you've got Mickey at around 1,500. You've got Mickey just below 1,000. You've got Ariel and Hades that are both holding above 500 from the most recent set. You've added in things like Iconics and Epics to increase the booster pack opening experience. Like, I think there's more to be done there. But like they're moving in the right direction, and there's a ton of demand for the cards in combination with, and I can't say it better than a lot of these people on the thread, like this person declined ? Which I feel, I'm like, what are you talking about the decline? Like, I don't really get it. This person laid out some really good points. But this, I feel like the shot commission here had a good point. They said, I'm so tired of this declining narrative. Every day I meet more people getting into Lorcana. I live in SoCal and locals are always packed. Yes, it's tough to get a DLC ticket, but there are many third-party Lorcana tournaments every weekend. Lorcana is not declining. People are just mad they can't use broken cards anymore. This person, the famous decline with 4K DLC tickets sold out in an hour. And that's kind of, you know, I think the original poster of the thread kind of says like, hey, it shouldn't be DLC or bust, and we need more like weekly locals attendance. And part of me, I do think that weekly locals are an important part of growing the player base, right? These people who play Magic or play One Piece or play Pokemon, if they walk into a store and see a bunch of people playing Lorcana, they're going to be much more engaged and inclined to get into that game, right? And so I do see the potential and need necessity for weekly league play. But I really feel like that a little bit of Lorcana is an anomaly as it relates to weekly league play, because it's bringing in so many people from outside of the TCG world that have families, right? And so for like myself, like I love Lorcana Death, right? I've got a very big collection, right? We've got a ton of packs, ton of cards, etc., whatever. Like I love to play the game. I do not have time to play the game. I cannot go and set aside 3 or 4 hours on a weeknight to go to the store and hang out and play cards. Like, I try to fit in set champs where I can, but like I just don't have the time. That doesn't mean that I don't love Lorcana and I'm not still engaging in the product, where that's playing, you know, online possibly, or looking at playing different ways with friends, things like that. But like I just don't have the time to dedicate towards going to an LGS. And I feel like there's a lot of people within the Lorcana ecosystem that's more relevant than other TCGs, right? And so I just think that this idea that because some locals aren't as busy as they used to be, right, and maybe a post-rotation world or a post-Pixelborn world, like that doesn't mean that the game is dying. And I think that when you look at some of the bigger events like the DLCs, it kind of illustrates that point. Now, look, to the original poster's credit, I don't think it should be DLC or bust. I think there should be other tournaments, and that's why it's great that we've seen these third-party organizers step up and offer things like CCQs and whatnot to kind of get qualified for the national circuit and the championship circuit through tournaments that are not organized by Ravensburger. And I think as long as those tournaments continue to get a good attendance, they're going to continue to build and amplify, and I think that we're going to continue to see a lot of growth from that. And then hopefully Ravensburger steps in with Season 3 with a little bit of a ramp up to what they're willing to do in terms of their tournament support, their amount of events, their support for the events, prize cards, etc. Right? I've heard a lot of horror stories of how these events are run, especially the most recent one, waiting in a lot of lines, tournament software breaking down. There's a lot of things they need to do to get better, but at the end of the day, there's still a significant demand for these bigger tournaments, right? And so I think that is, a lot of the reason why I feel confident of Lorcana. I can also speak anecdotally. Just in my personal day-to-day world, I'm talking to a lot of people who are going after these prize cards and these trophy cards very similar to what I'm doing. And I can tell you that market is very healthy. There's a lot of transactions. Now, unfortunately, these transactions are usually private. It's usually a larger sum of money. Therefore, when you talk about that 10 to 15% fee that these sites like to take, when you're getting up to $5, $10, $15,000 transactions, that fee hits a lot harder, right? So it makes sense to meet up in person, do private deals, wires, etc. And so a lot of these cards are being transacted that way, which I think, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but I think if there was visibility to that stuff, maybe someone should create some sort of like third-party network where a buyer and a seller can each like verify a transaction or something. There's got to be some way to make sure it's legit. But make these private transactions public, maybe keep them anonymous. I don't know, someone build a blockchain that can do that. That's probably a good idea. But I'm privy to a lot of these transactions, but it's not my right to disclose them. It's not my right to dox these people, right, or anything like that. So, but I can just tell you from like a higher level that like the prize card market is very, very healthy. It's doing very, very well. And so I think that that's going to continue to be the case. And therefore a lot of people are going to be playing for these larger prize cards. They're going to sell for a significant amount of money. And that's going to continue to kind of feed the top end. Now the lower end matters even more than the top end. And so that's why I think, making sure these DLCs get good support, these third-party community organizers get good support, and hopefully we can get, to a point where we have prize packs and promo Dumbos or Cinderellas or whatever of these really meta-defining cards getting handed out at league play, right? Not to where it's going to make the card worthless, but like it gives you a reason to go and play in league, right? If each store got 8 of these to hand out over the next, you got 1 per week for the next 8 weeks or something, or you got a couple, whatever. I'm no weekly organized play price expert, but like just things that you guys have told me that maybe work in Pokemon or work in other TCGs, I think could make a lot of sense here, and that's going to help the local league play. But I just wanted, if any of you guys feel like Lorcana's dying, or you're seeing this on your Pokemon podcast, or Rudy's, poo-pooed it or whatever, it's just not the case, guys. Like, it's just not the case. I know of multiple people who have spent thousands of dollars, just in the last 3 days on like bigger, higher end cards, like a $15,000 transaction. Like, these bigger transactions are happening. At the smaller scale, these playable cards are flying off the shelves. Box prices are very, very stable. There's great expected value inside these boxes. Like, people are coming in like crazy from outside of the TCG world. So, don't let the internet convince you that Lorcana is dying by any means, because it's not. Do they need to get better? Yes. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. There's a lot of steps that need to be taken in the right direction, but as of right now, they are doing a really, really solid job. They've got to keep compounding growth, and they've got to get better, but they're doing a great job, and I think this was a great little story here on the bright side of things. So this person, Zenny Boy, says, I love this game. They say, so I was kind of on a TCG journey throughout this year. I started with MTG, which was fun, but ultimately ended up being so expensive, way too complex, way too many mechanics, etc. And this kind of got me a thing, but I've had the most fun, and I feel like I'm not being left behind by the group to spend forever catching up. Then came Lorcana. I always saw it in stores, but after some videos began to pick it up. I'm loving it. The art, the gameplay, the mechanics, the fact that it feels like many types of decks are extremely viable, basically saying that the meta is diverse, and it never feels unfair to me. It feels almost as if you are playing chess with the constant amount of decisions you can make each turn. I agree wholeheartedly. I think the game is incredibly fun. Although I know in probably 5 to 10 years this will become the new Pokemon. I don't know about that. The lack of scalpers is very nice. In 5 to 10 years, if Lorcana is still around, there will be a lot more scalping going on. That's for sure. I can pick up a pack, but it's not going to be Pokemon. I can pick up a pack in store relatively easily, but what? There's packs in the store. That means the game is dead. And not to worry about having someone wait it, which is, if you've seen videos, there was like, I think it was One Piece. A guy is going through an entire retail like pegboard, like, you know, there was a ton of boosters on there, and he's weighing them before he buys them. It's like, what are we doing, man? Talk about losing the plot. And not to mention all the Disney magic in the series. It makes me want to go through so much of the animated properties they have. Super excited for the future. The only thing I hope is for the increased hit rates for Enchanteds. Every Chove and booster box I get legendary after legendary within the occasional epic. Pokemon's pack opening experience is extremely fun because it feels like, although you always got something. Disney has work to do to get to that point, and I feel the game will take off even more. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, right? You can go back from, probably 24 months ago if this channel was around. So my first videos, I'm probably talking about the booster pack opening experience and how that's very lackluster. Now, the amount of dopamine whenever you pull an enchanted, it can't be matched, right? But it's because you got kicked in the face 150 times before you got there, which makes it that much more exhilarating when you finally pull something. But I think that focusing on stories like that from Zenny Boy. And if you get on the Reddit, it's full of people either finding out about Lorcana and looking for advice in terms of what to buy, want to build this deck, what starter decks are good, etc. Starting my collection, what should I start with? Should I get sealed products? Should I get cards? Whatever. And also a lot of people that are coming back, right? And I've heard this just anecdotally from people in the community that a lot of people who rotation made very frustrated and they left and they didn't see him for a couple months are starting to come back. Some of those posts are on Reddit as well, like, hey, I'm returning, what's good now, etc. And so I think that, the more you can remove yourself from any sort of like just online criticisms, whether it's Magic, right? We look at Magic at the beginning of the video and it's losing to Lorcana and everyone on there is saying the game's going to die and blah, blah, blah. Or if you hop over to the Magic or to the Lorcana thread and you see that, why is this game dying? Or you hear it on your Pokemon podcast or whatever, Lorcana's dying, they've got product on the shelves. Like, Lorcana is truly, in my opinion, gathering passionate people like myself and like yourself that love this game, love the brand, love the IPs, think the cards are gorgeous, the game is fun, and people like us are going to be around a lot longer. Therefore, the game's going to continue to grow because of people like us than someone who just, bought it because it can make some money on it, right? And so more people like us have to continue to come in, and that's on Ravensburger to bring those people in. But I don't know a single person who actually likes Lorcana that has quit. I don't know a single person. And sure, those people exist, right? And I know they do. But in my personal life, I don't know anyone who's just flat out quit collecting, quit playing, just quit the game in general because of any of these, catastrophic events, whether it was Pixelborn, reprinting the first chapter multiple times. What else? Worlds being closed was a big one. I hated that. The DLC Season 2 schedule, hated that. I don't know. Riftbound's probably going to kill it. I'm sure there's some of that out there. But in reality, I think TCGs are just having a moment, and there's so much potential for trading card games as a whole. I think that, Lorcana stands alone, though, in the sense that it's a new trading card game, and it's got a chance to bring in a lot of people from outside of the trading card game world that just are not familiar with it. And I think you see that time and time again. So many people who have never, maybe they played Pokemon a long time ago, played Yu-Gi-Oh! A long time ago. They're finding their way back to trading card games because of Lorcana. And that's why I hate when people outside of the Lorcana world poo-poo on Lorcana and kind of dunk on it. I think it was kind of touted as like a Pokemon killer and things like that, or the Magic killer. And so therefore, naturally, those people will have resentment for it. But in my opinion, for this, just when you look at the entire trading card game world, Lorcana can impact those other trading card games more positively than any other brand or any other trading card game. And so, in my opinion, they should want Lorcana to win, because I think the likelihood of someone crossing over to One Piece, Pokemon, Magic from Lorcana is incredibly likely as they get brought into the TCG world and they start to explore their products. In terms of, obviously, Lorcana and Disney's total addressable market outside of the TCG world is bigger than any other brand, and so they've got a lot of potential to bring people in. They can then, maybe find some other passions within other TCGs. So I think they should be rooting for Lorcana. Unfortunately, it seems like everyone is kind of rooting against Lorcana, except for some of those people in the Magic thread. They were kind of happy that Lorcana was in those 2 pallets. The Lorcana had sold a couple more. It's probably just like out longer or whatever. But they were obviously using that to pile on. So that's it for today's video, guys. I think as long as you continue to buy the things that you like, that helps remove, you become very price agnostic. And I think that that's ultimately the way to do the hobby right. If you buy the things you like, you're not as worried about price, set very clear goals, buy things from the first, either buy promos that are going to be a little bit less impacted by the utility of the cards, buy something from the first 4 sets. They're out of rotation. So once again, the utility of the card is a lot less impacted in the price or reflected in the price. Focus on the old stuff, focus on the more scarce stuff. Focus on the stuff that's irrelevant to the game, and you'll be happy. You'll quit worrying about the price, and you'll just enjoy some awesome art. So, yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope it was, I just rambled for 20 minutes, so hopefully it was someone found some sort of value out there in it. But nevertheless, thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm very excited. We'll have some. I'm excited about this TCG player sale that's coming up. I always love when they do the 10% back. So we'll have a video coming out about that here in the coming days. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back with another video soon. Bye, guys.